Welcome. It's the Matic. It's the illest blurred in the land. Welcome back to Ill Blur Matic. We're just gonna let you thank you so much for commenting, liking, subscribing. It's the hardest working blur in the building today. And today we are back with another episode review on Ahsoka episode 3, Ready to Fly. So, first thing that I gotta say about this episode, I love the training setup, the scenario that they have. With this episode, we see Sabine Wren training with the Jedi droid at the start of the episode, and we're learning that there are differences with the training for the Jedi, whether you're for a Padawan, which I thought was a cool concept with this. We see that the beginner stages was with the Jedi droid. Sabine Wren wasn't quite good at it to some degree, but she passed. And then we see Ahsoka training pretty much, and her training is a bit different. It's more physical based. The other one is just a droid with these holograms. And we see both of them kind of clash. The droid is kind of like, no, she wouldn't pass with flying colors, at the Jedi Temple. And Ahsoka said, no, let's train her in a more intermediate fashion, meaning the next level for a Padawan, meaning a Jedi in training. I thought that was a cool concept because, like I said, with Ahsoka, it was more like Kaikendo, had like a space version of Kaikendo, and the droid was more like kind of like, just kid stuff, like elementary. That's the best way to describe it, all right? And I like that we saw that they had their differences, but also Sabine Wren feeling some type of way. You know what I'm saying? Because the Jedi droid, he's been clowning her for quite a bit. If you know what I mean about how good she is, if she would have passed in the Jedi Temple back in the days when the Jedi were a big, establishment. And we see that pretty much Ahsoka is the polar opposite. She said, no, my student, I know she can do intermediate training. And we see her kind of struggle a bit. We see Sabine Wren kind of struggle a bit. The other thing that I liked about this episode is that Ahsoka is a bit different from the traditional Jedi. She doesn't want her student to have to choose if she's going to be a Mandalorian or a Jedi. She wants her student to carve their own path. So she tells the droid that she doesn't want her to be the next Jedi. She just wants her to be who she should be. She shouldn't have to choose a path. So I thought that was a cool concept within this episode. But let's talk about the next part of this episode. By far, one of my favorite parts, I'm going to talk about my next part after that, is when they introduce the politics to Star Wars, all right? If it's a Star Wars show, we gotta have some politics, all right? So they bring it with the politics. We see General Hera being frustrated with the Senate, but also the Chancellor. And the reason for that is because Hera knows that the Empire may still be in the New Republic, this new regime, and they may be a corrupt infrastructure within the actual society. And Hera pretty much is like, yo, let's like get this going and see who's behind doing all these other things. And pretty much the Senate's like, no, we do not want to do this. We're not going to help you. Your friends are on their own. Sabine Wren, the Jedi droid, and also Ahsoka. And we see that it gives us the Star Wars element. Because remember, Star Wars is a sci-fi political soap opera. If you really think about it, right? And I like that they included politicians, senates, chancellor. I was like, yo, this gave me episode 1 feels. I was like, episode 1? Episode 1? Episode 1. Gotta love it. I gotta love it, man. I love that they went with this approach with this episode because I said, okay, this has got the Star Wars stamp of appeal. Right? Also in this episode, we see Ahsoka pretty much giving trust to her actual student when they arrive in the other star system where Shin Hati and Morgan and Baylan are at. Pretty much they knew that they were in enemy territory. So Ahsoka prepares her students to get into the ship and learn how to use the manpower, meaning to shoot down these other spacecrafts. Also, what I love in this episode, ooh, boy, Shin Hati gets a lot more screen time. I felt like with this episode, we saw her way more. She's not as a quiet Sith as I thought she was when we first were introduced to her in the very first episode. We see her kind of be like her actual master, Baylan. She's very strategic. She's talking to the people that's with her in space, trying to take down the Jedi ship. And we see how aggressive she is. She is like fierce. I kept telling y'all she fierce. She ain't Hati don't play, all right? And we see pretty much her almost taking down the Jedi ship. Also, the Sith Inquisitor is there. I told y'all that was the Sith Inquisitor. I told you. Helping out Shin Hati and also other pilots there as well. So they're in deep space. We then see Ahsoka go out and pretty much have her lightsabers out there trying to defend the ship, while pretty much Sabine Wren tried to reboot the ship due to what happened to the Jedi droid. Also, what I liked in this episode was Morgan. I like how Morgan was calculated. She knew they were coming to that actual star system, and she set a trap. And we see that they have their differences between the enemies. It seems like Shin Hati does trust Morgan a little bit, unlike her master, Baylan. Baylan don't really trust the witch like that. He like, nah. But they eventually make it to the planet despite their ship being injured. Damaged, let's just say. When it comes down to it, Ahsoka and also her student and also the droid. And we see Baylan prepare for them to arrive on the planet. So, what I did not like about this episode, too short for me. I felt like this episode should have been a little bit lengthier. I was thinking this was going to be like the last two episodes, a bit more lengthier. I think Star Wars has a problem with length on episodes. It's not just this series, but other Star Wars series too. My next thing is I would have liked to learn a little bit more about the New Republic. Hopefully the next episode explores that dynamic with it. But other than that, enjoyable episode, gave me Star Wars vibes. But you guys tell me in the comments, have you seen Ahsoka episode 3, Ready to Fly? And you tell me in the comments, what do you think about the episode? It is a blur, living the word, guys. Thank you so much for commenting, liking, subscribing, and fully watching the video. Have a wonderful day, guys, and I'm out.